So here we go with Chapter 2 of Adam Grant's Give and Take. This chapter is titled How Givers, Takers, and Matchers Build Networks. As you are well aware, social networks permeate our lives today. You may not be as aware about more professional sorts of networks, however, such as LinkedIn, which growingly act as portals for people's professional advancement. It turns out that givers, matchers, and takers build networks for different reasons and in different ways. Givers try to add value to networks, matchers try to trade value in networks, and takers try to claim value in networks. A long story short, the general relative results of these three reciprocity strategies are that, over time, givers build the biggest and most effective networks for everyone, including themselves. Matchers build the next best and most productive networks, and takers do the worst. We will discuss the reasons for these outcomes shortly. Before we go further, however, we should discuss an important caveat, which needs to be remembered not just in this chapter, but throughout the book. Grant's biggest point in writing Give and Take is to show that givers actually get the most over time. It is vital to realize, however, that takers can't just grab the trappings of a giver's strategy and have the same results as givers. Giving, properly understood, isn't a strategy to manipulate people, but rather a style and method of approach to care for people. As Grant writes, as Wayne Baker, a University of Michigan sociologist and networking expert, explains, if we create networks with the sole intention of getting something, we won't succeed. We can't pursue the benefits of networks. The benefits ensue from investments in meaningful activities and relationships. You don't have to ponder for long to realize that because our opportunities to help necessarily outnumber our opportunities to match or claim, givers will build bigger networks. Grant writes, at its core, the giver approach extends a broader reach, and in doing so enlarges the range of potential payoffs, even though those payoffs are not the motivating engine. When you meet people, says former Apple evangelist and Silicon Valley legend Guy Kawasaki, regardless of who they are, you should be asking yourself, how can I help the other person? This may strike some as a way to overinvest in others, but as Adam Rifkin once learned to great effect, we can't always predict who will help us. If you had to guess who was the best connected person on LinkedIn, who would you guess? Mark Zuckerberg? Beyonce? Tim Cook? Kobe Bryant? How about Adam Rifkin, a behind-the-scenes coder? Grant writes, in 2011, Adam Rifkin had more LinkedIn connections to the 640 powerful people on Fortune's lists than any human being on the planet. He beat out luminaries like Michael Dell, the billionaire founder of the Dell Computer Company, and Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn. I was stunned that a shy, Star Trek-loving, anagram-obsessing software geek managed to build a network that includes the founders of Facebook, Netscape, Napster, Twitter, Flickr, and Half.com. So how and why did he do it? Grant writes, Adam Rifkin built his network by operating as a bona fide giver. My network developed little by little, in fact, a little every day through small gestures and acts of kindness over the course of many years, Rifkin explains, with a desire to make better the lives of the people I'm connected to. We consider matching and taking as networking strategies. They both will yield smaller, less virile networks because they bypass so many potential connections because they insist on near-term reciprocity. As Grant writes, as these disadvantages of strict reciprocity accrue over time, they can limit both the quantity and quality of the networks that takers and matchers develop. Both disadvantages ultimately arise out of a short-sightedness about networks, in that takers and matchers make hard and fast assumptions about just who will be able to provide the most benefit in exchange. To understand some of the more sophisticated ways that networks function, Grant speaks of three types of network ties: strong, weak, and dormant. Strong ties are people you know really well, the type you could call on for a recommendation. Weak ties are those that happen without us even knowing about them. As an example, If we did good work for someone, and she passes that along to someone else, who then contacts us and offers us work. Dormant ties are rare for teenagers, but you might imagine 20 years from now that you will have current classmates, future frat brothers, and college classmates, and colleagues from your early career whom you haven't seen or heard from for a while. Those will become dormant ties for you. Though we might think that the strong ties are the most important and effective, over time, weak ties can be even more important. As Grant writes, one of Rifkin's maxims is, "I believe in the strength of weak ties." It's an homage to a classic study by the Stanford sociologist Max Granovetter. Strong ties are our close friends and colleagues, the people we really trust. Weak ties are our acquaintances, the people we know casually. Testing the common assumption that we get the most help from our strong ties, Granovetter surveyed people in professional, technical, and managerial professions who had recently changed jobs. Nearly 17% heard about the job from a strong tie. Their friends and trusted colleagues gave them plenty of leads. But surprisingly, people were significantly more likely to benefit from weak ties. Almost 28% heard about the job from a weak tie. Strong ties provide bonds, but weak ties serve as bridges. They provide more efficient access to new information. Our strong ties tend to travel in the same social circles and know about the same opportunities as we do. Weak ties are more likely to open up access to a different network, facilitating the discovery of original leads. Because givers leave behind memories of positive experiences with their ties, if and when givers do call upon dormant ties years later, the dormant ties are usually eager to re-engage. As Grant writes, Rifkin's experience illustrates how givers are able to develop and leverage extraordinarily rich networks. By virtue of the way they interact with other people in their networks, givers create norms that favor adding rather than claiming or trading value, expanding the pie for all involved. When they truly need help, givers can reconnect with dormant ties, receiving novel assistance from near-forgotten but trusted sources. Building a great network requires strong effort and excellent service on the part of the giver over an extended period of time. But though huge effort on major projects is important, many smaller efforts also build goodwill. As Grant writes, Adam Rifkin's giving is governed by a simple rule, the 5-minute favor. You should be willing to do something that will take you 5 minutes or less for anybody. Can and do make significant positive contributions as individuals, but they tend to have a persuasive effect on their peers, swinging them from matchers to givers. As Grant writes, cutting-edge research shows how Rifkin motivates other people to give. Giving, especially when it's distinctive and consistent, establishes a pattern that shifts other people's reciprocity styles within a group. It turns out that giving can be contagious. In one study, contagion experts James Fowler and Nicholas Christakis found that giving spreads rapidly and widely across social networks. When one person made the choice to contribute to a group at a personal cost over a series of rounds of a game, other group members were more likely to contribute in future rounds, even when interacting with people who weren't present for the original act. This influence persists for multiple periods and spreads up to 3 degrees of separation from person to person to person to person, Fowler and Christakis find, such that each additional contribution a subject makes in the first period is tripled over the course of the experiment by other subjects who are directly or indirectly influenced to contribute more as a consequence. Because givers inspire trust, sneaky takers often pose as givers. But Grant has studied how to spot the frauds. In general, takers can only put on the facade in the short term because their desire to cash in on their connections gets the better of them. Specifically, Grant says to look out for people who are ostentatious and claim more than their share in significant aspects of their personal and professional lives. When takers speak about the success of their organizations, they are far more likely than givers to use first-person pronouns, as in I did this and I accomplished that, whereas givers are far more likely to say we did this or we accomplished that. Takers also tend to insist on paying themselves far more than their respective peers at other firms. Also, the larger the photos of people in company publications that they control, the much more likely that they are to be takers. So, some takeaways for Chapter 2. You should be able to explain briefly how the different reciprocity styles approach network building. Explain the 3 types of network ties and why adding value to a network as a strategy tends to benefit the network and adder better than claiming value from a network. Explain Rifkin's 5-minute rule. Explain how the presence of givers in a group helps other members of the group to also become givers. Explain how to recognize a taker posing as a giver. And then discuss how Ken Lay and Adam Rifkin exemplify how different network building strategies play out in the world.